Instagram is changing the game, and most people haven't even realized it yet. The era of isolated content is coming to an end. Instagram just released a new feature, and almost no one understands what it really means or the impact that it could have. Now you can link several Instagram Reels within a single one. And yes, it might seem like a small update, but this can actually change the way we build online businesses. At first glance, it might look like it's just another way to keep viewers more engaged and to boost up the views or to keep people longer on the app. But in reality, it solves a structural problem within the platform itself. Historically, Instagram has always been built around fast consumption and isolated content and random discovery. Each piece of content was competing individually for attention. And that created two problems. For the user, it created the problem of consuming. It would consume a lot, but with no continuity, it wouldn't evolve. And users would stay informed, yes, but they wouldn't actually go nowhere. And then for the creator, it created the problem of every post would be a start from zero, would be starting everything from scratch basically. There would be no logical progression and no linear funnel, and extremely hard, or make it extremely hard to build narratives and depth. But now, with the ability to connect Reels together, Instagram is introducing something that didn't exist before, which is native continuity. Now you can create direct relationships between pieces of content, and that changes the fundamental unit of the platform. Before, the unit was a single piece of content, and now it becomes an ecosystem. And this wasn't made randomly. Instagram didn't just come up with this and did it randomly. It has a point. It responds to a clear change in user behavior. We all know that attention span has been decreasing a lot lately in the last few years, but people are also more overwhelmed and less patient and more dependent on an implicit curation of content, which basically means that people don't want to decide what to watch next anymore. They want someone to decide it for them. And this is very similar to how YouTube works. YouTube has always been built on long sessions, chained content, and accumulated retention of attention. But there's a key difference, and the difference is the user intent. On YouTube, people usually go with the intention of learning something or searching for something specific. On Instagram, the intention is usually entertainment. Now, what Instagram is trying to do is combine the best of both worlds into one single thing. It's trying to combine passive discovery with active retention. And this feature unlocks something that wasn't possible before. Now, just like on YouTube, where during a video you can reference another video, or you can guide people to the next step or direct them to a better outcome, you can kind of do that or something similar on Instagram natively. And this changes a lot of things, and it's really, really valuable. Because if you think about it, in practice, you will be able to build a funnel without people ever leaving, or without users ever leaving your Instagram world, your Instagram profile, or your ecosystem of content. And with this new possibility, you can do things like referencing other reels mid-thought. You can create deeper content sequences, and you can direct people to different paths or different outcomes. So basically, content stops being linear and becomes modular, interconnected with each other, and a lot more strategic. And this is where it gets interesting. Until now, the game was a lot about consistency, volume, and frequency. But now the game starts to change into ecosystems. And this is the word of the day, ecosystems. Everything's gonna start revolving around how your content connects with each other, what journey it creates, and what logic it follows. And this will benefit people that think in systems, people who build content with intention, with the goal behind, the strategy, people that understand the user journey. It will not, however, benefit the reactive creator. So the creator that does random acts of posting that reacts to whatever is around them with no logical structure, with no strategy behind what he does and what he says, and the one that depends on strategies without structure, or depends on trends or on mood or hot topics and stuff like this. Now it's important to note that Instagram is not just adding a feature. It's solving a structural limitation. It's turning fragmented consumption into continuous consumption. And that is going to change the advantage on the platform. It will no longer be about who gets the attention, but about who keeps the attention. But it gets even more interesting. We usually are able to control the entry point. So when a user enters the funnel, we know where, and we can usually control where. Or we can control the sequence of the funnel and the context of the entry point. So for example, if a user clicks on an ad, then the logical next step would be to go to a landing page, and the next step would be to enter the system like a CRM or something like this, and then it would receive an offer, and that offer would lead to a purchase. For example, very simple. It's fairly linear. On social media, however, it is not. And it's a challenge that we marketers, or we people that work with brands and funnels and whatever, it's a challenge that we have on social media, because we are not able to control the entry point, we are not able to control so much of the funnel, and what kind of first impression or connection that the person or the user gets with our brand. But this has always been like this. It's not something new. We know that people enter the funnel at different points. So they have interactions with brands at different stages. They see content out of order. They interact with parts of the funnel without the proper context. Someone might see a sales content first, and then a technical piece, and then an emotional video, and there's really no logical sequence to this. And that has always been the biggest challenge with social media, is the fragmented funnel. It has always been a limitation to have low control over the journey, basically. Now what this new tool comes to do is to slightly solve that problem. And there's always a catch. It introduces new variables. So now it introduces the variable of, will you be able, or will you have the ability to influence the next step? Even if you don't control, or even if you are not able to control the entry point, you now have the possibility of influencing the next step. You now have the ability of influencing the path. So through content connections, through intentional sequences, and through depth, people can enter one reel, and then without leaving your ecosystem, they can get pulled into another one, and then and then another one, and it's a rabbit hole. And you really have the possibility here to get people stuck into your content, and that's very good, because it opens a lot of possibilities, opens a lot of opportunities, is the right way to say this. But now in practice, in reality, what you need to do, you don't need to change what you are doing right now. You don't need to change everything that you're doing, but it means that there is now space for you to think more strategically about how you create content for Instagram. There is space now to create content in blocks, to build intentional and logical, so things that make sense, connections that make sense with other pieces of content, and to design journeys inside your content system. Now, let's not get it wrong. Instagram is still a discovery platform first and foremost. It is still very unpredictable and it's still non-linear. But you now have the power to make your audience's journey less fragmented. And the question for you now becomes not what should I post today, or what should I post tomorrow, or what will I post this month? It now becomes, where will this piece of content lead my audience? Where will it go? What's the logic in this? That is the bigger question now. And now, if you made it this far, if you made it to the end of this mini class video, then it means that you are very serious about building a brand that can withstand all these changes. A brand that can easily adapt to the virtual world and the very mutable world that we build brands on. If that's you, then I have something really special for you in the description. It's a sweet treat. And I'll see you on the next one.